Good morning. I'm Natalie Clancy, the Director of Corporate Communications for the Toronto Police Service, and it is my pleasure this morning to introduce the Solicitor General of Ontario, Michael Kerzner, to shed a little light about why we're standing in front of a state-of-the-art OPP helicopter to talk about public safety. Minister?
Thank you. Well, good morning and welcome to the beautiful riding of York Centre. It's great to be here in my own constituency, a place that my family and I proudly call home. And for me, there is nothing more important than the concerns of my constituents. And that's why we're here today. Public safety matters to them, it matters to me, and it matters a lot to our Premier, Doug Ford. I'd like to welcome Associate Minister Graham McGregor here, my friend MPP Parliamentary Assistant Dave Smith, the Deputy Solicitor General Mario Di Tommaso, the Vice Chair of Toronto's Police Service Board Lisa Kostakis, Chief Demkiw, the command leaders and the Deputy Commissioner of the OPP, and everyone who's here today. We're also very, very fortunate to have representatives from the Toronto Police Association, and I'd like to again congratulate Clayton Campbell as its newest president. I'm excited, both as Solicitor General and as the local MPP, to talk about why helicopters are important for our public safety. Another example of our government's commitment to be absolutely relentless when it comes to keeping our communities safe. And our government, under the leadership of Premier Ford, will always prioritize public safety. People I talk to across the province are concerned about crime in their communities. And they know, as I've said before, some things have to matter. The rule of law must matter. And they know it is completely unacceptable to be confronted in the middle of the night with someone staring down their front door, knocking it in, and demanding the keys to their car. No one should ever be victimized like this. And that's why our government has taken a very strong stand against crime, and especially when it comes to auto theft. Everyone wants to make sure that their inherent right to live safely in their communities is protected, and nothing is more important than the right to live exactly where we are, to wake up our kids in the morning, to check in on our seniors, to go to work safely, to shop safely, and to be able to pray safely. We will never apologize for prioritizing our public safety. Our heroic police officers, like the fine men and women from Toronto Police Service, are tackling crime and making our communities safer every day. And I have seen this firsthand. Just earlier this week, when I was at the Ontario Police College, I had a chance to sit in the classes and visit our newest recruits from Toronto Police Service, and I look forward to their graduation in mid-December. Our government will always support law enforcement with the best tools to protect our rights to live safely in our communities, and that's why we're here today. Helicopters have a long history in law enforcement. Police have used aircrafts to combat crime since the 1920s. And today, there are over 2,000 law enforcement helicopters patrolling the skies over North American cities. Many people have always assumed that Toronto had at least one helicopter, even when we have none. And as far back as 2000, almost 87% of Torontonians thought that we should have a helicopter. And that's why our government, led by Premier Ford, came forward with an ambitious plan to provide an unparalleled resource of support so that our communities will always be safe. Earlier this June, the Associate Minister and I were with the Premier when we announced the purchase of helicopters for Toronto, for Ottawa, for Durham, for Halton, and for Peel. But we recognize that crime doesn't just stop at municipal borders, and our government agrees with this. And that's why the Joint Air Support Unit, the investment by our government of over $134 million over 3 years to help police services acquire these 5 new helicopters for use around the GTA and Ottawa region is so important. You know, police helicopters give officers eyes in the sky. They see things that the ground can't, that those on the ground can't. And helicopters cover more geographically, you know, cars that could be stolen and offer wider surveillance and relay critical information to ground units during an emergency or criminal pursuit. And we know the areas of Toronto are so densely populated. This helicopter will provide that amazing support to help the ground forces get these people who think it's okay to steal our cars, and we know it's not. Because the ground people, our police officers, will arrive at the crime scene that much faster. And that is the case with downtown Toronto and everywhere in Toronto that's so densely populated. I'm proud that this new twin-engine Airbus helicopter 135 that's behind us, this type of helicopter which will be owned and operated by the OPP and operated on behalf of Toronto Police Service. The H-135 is a law enforcement workhorse carrying out its tasks day and night. It's a helicopter that the OPP have experience with. It's deployed by federal, regional, and municipal police services around the world, including right here in our own backyard by the OPP. And it will be equipped with the latest crime prevention and investigation technology, including thermal imaging, which will help locate suspects from a safe distance. And I might also add, assist in search and rescue. One of the key missions of the Joint Air Support Unit will be to combat auto theft, a criminal activity that is putting millions of dollars in the pockets of organized crime, making communities feel less safe. And I'm so delighted that the Premier asked my colleague and great friend, Minister McGregor, to tackle this with a laser-focused approach. Our police services, with the support of our government, are making inroads in the fight of auto theft. And we're fighting it very hard. And we will continue to support law enforcement to make sure that the autos that are being stolen are the numbers of autos that are being stolen are falling every day. We want to make sure that people's vehicles aren't stolen. We want to make sure that we have a plan to combat organized crime. And most importantly, we need to have Toronto, the engine that helps drive Ontario, safe. We know a safe Ontario is a strong Ontario. The Joint Air Support Unit will be an invaluable tool to stop criminals in their tracks and continue to keep our neighborhoods, our roads, and our highways safe. The Toronto Police and law enforcement across Ontario are doing an incredible job. Chief, I want to thank you and your command leaders for the amazing work that they're doing. And I know our Deputy Solicitor General, who's with us today, Mario Di Tommaso, and I will always have the backs of everyone, especially in Toronto Police Service, that keeps Ontario safe and Toronto safe. Morning, noon, and night, our government, led by Premier Ford, will prioritize our public safety. Our priority is intentional. Our commitment will always be absolute and constant. Thank you, merci beaucoup, and miigwech. It's my pleasure to call our Chief of Police, Myron Demkiw.
Thank you, Minister. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for being here today on this great occasion. I do want to begin by thanking the Ontario government and, of course, the Honorable Solicitor General Michael Kerzner for this much-needed air support to keep our city safe. Policing our great city is complex, and it is always dynamic. The new GTA Air Support Unit will benefit Toronto residents at no cost to the city. The Air Support Unit adds a dynamic new tool for the Toronto Police to be able to respond to various circumstances that are often dangerous and very unpredictable. I think about high-speed pursuits, dynamic gun calls, large crowd management, and missing vulnerable persons. These are just a few examples where having a helicopter will help us keep Toronto safe. Our communities have spoken to me about the importance of the Toronto Police having the necessary tools, including air support from a helicopter. This joint air support program with the Ontario Provincial Police gives the Toronto Police Service new capability to respond to the dynamic and growing needs of our city. The technology packed into these helicopters is cutting edge, and it integrates with our remotely piloted aircraft system. RPAS, more commonly known as drones, are a very cost-effective tool for us, but they have limited range, as they can only fly as far as the operator can see. They cannot track a speeding, stolen vehicle racing through our streets. That is where air support in the form of a helicopter comes in. Helicopters offer us greater speed, range, and endurance to track suspects. They also send a clear message to violent criminals who think they won't get caught. Of course, helicopters will only be deployed when it makes sense to do so. Air support operations will be prioritized to intelligence-led responses to serious events such as violent crimes and missing persons or other emergencies. The onboard tactical flight officer will be a Toronto police officer who will track suspects and direct ground units to make arrests while minimizing danger to the public and our officers. A helicopter will help us get even more guns and criminals who use them off our streets. A helicopter will help us apprehend those who are breaking into homes and stealing cars. A helicopter will help us find missing and vulnerable persons. In short, a helicopter will help us fight crime in our city and will save lives. Once the new Airbus helicopter is delivered, the Government of Ontario will fund 5 net new Toronto Police Service positions that will serve as tactical flight officers. I want to thank the Government of Ontario for this support. Toronto is in the unique position that while we wait for delivery of the new helicopter, the Ontario Provincial Police is providing the Toronto Police Service use of existing helicopters by funding extra flight time to assist us. This is, of course, very much appreciated. I want to use this opportunity to especially thank the Ontario Provincial Police for their support on October 7th, when they sent a helicopter and provided air support as we managed multiple sites attended by thousands. I want to acknowledge Deputy Commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, Rohan Thomas, and Chief Superintendent Dana Early for your ongoing commitment to collaborating with us. Thank you both for being here with us today. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge Councillor Pasternak, Councillor and Police Service Board member Lily Chang, and Vice Chair of the Police Service Board, Lisa Kostakis, for joining us today. On behalf of all of our members, I want to thank the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, the Honourable Solicitor General Michael Kerzner, and the Honourable Associate Minister Graham McGregor, and Member of Provincial Parliament Dave Smith for your continued support in expediting this initiative. On behalf of every member of the Toronto Police Service, we appreciate your unwavering commitment. Thank you, and I'm now happy to pass it over to Associate Minister of Auto Theft and Bail Reform, the Honourable Graham McGregor.
Thanks. Good morning. Thank you, Chief, for that. It's good to be here with my provincial government colleagues alongside Solicitor General Kerzner and MPP Smith. With the Chief, we've got representatives from Toronto Police Association. Congratulations to the new President, Clayton Campbell, and Lisa Kostakis, the Vice Chair of the Police Board. I'd like to thank each of you for your hard work and the hard work for all the officers you represent. The Toronto Police Service does extraordinary work keeping us all safe. I'm proud that our government is ensuring that they have the support and equipment they need to do their jobs, including helicopter support, which will greatly enhance our efforts to stop crime, particularly auto theft. It's a great idea and something that we should support. You know, here at the Ford government, we take a lot of hits for the support that we show police. When we make investments like this, inevitably there's some so-called progressive politician that says we should be spending money elsewhere, criticizing our priorities. They call it a waste of money. And we think that people should be able to feel confident that their car will still be in their driveway when they wake up in the morning. We should feel safe walking to the corner store, going to work, and certainly in our own homes. And how do we do that? We do that by getting tough on crime, investing in police, giving these guys and gals the tools and the resources they need to do their jobs. The Toronto Police and law enforcement across Ontario are doing an outstanding job of fighting crime. They have our residents' backs every day, and they deserve politicians who have their backs as well. I'm proud to be in a government under Premier Ford's leadership that is going to have police's backs every single day. And now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Scarborough Centre MPP, PA to the Minister of Mines, Dave Smith. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I must say that I'm very humbled by this exercise because it's so important. I could not agree more with Minister Kerzner that the majority of Torontonians never know that we did not have helicopters as a part of enforcement fleets. And I can tell you that I'm a strong supporter of having these kinds of machineries in the units to allow us to do the best job in law enforcement. I'm an advocate. I'm a member of wearing uniforms, so I do understand the great sensitivity of what the work entails. So I strongly support this. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I must say, my name is MPP David Smith. I represent the riding of Scarborough Centre in the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. It's a privilege to be here today for this important announcement that will have a significant impact on our community. Our government remains deeply committed to protecting people of Ontario from increasing threat of auto theft and organized crime. This significant $134 million investment in 5 new helicopters for Joint Air Support Unit demonstrate our dedication to provide law enforcement with the necessary resources to ensure public safety and security. These helicopters will enhance patrol capability and improve response time for a majority incident, particularly in the Greater Toronto Area. For my community of Scarborough and the surrounding region, this investment means safer street, quicker response to serious crimes, and additional support for our local police services. By empowering our police force with advanced tools and technology, we are strengthening the ability to combat crime and protect our citizens. This initiative is part of our government broader commitment to ensure the safety of all Ontarians, and I'm proud to stand here today as we continue to invest in well-being security of our community. And I want to emphasize this because my community is a special place to me, and I'm glad that I'm part of the Premier Ford's team and working with the members that are here, Associate Minister McGregor, Chief, keep continuing to work with the name. But I want to thank the Chief. I want to thank every person that is here for us to continue to do the work we are doing. This is serious. As the Minister said again, to be in bed, sleeping at night, and have someone trying to wreck your door and break into your place to steal your keys for your car, this got to be heart-wrenching. And I really strongly support all the enforcement from the Toronto and every other region all across Ontario to make certain that we are providing the best services. For me, I would like to see more helicopters. And this is a start, as I've said, and I'm looking forward to supporting more of these units so we can clear up our streets and to make certain the bad guys are placed where they're supposed to be. Thank you. I need a paper. Sorry. Yes. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Lisa Kostakis, the Vice Chair of Toronto Police Services Board, next to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. Honorable Michael Kerzner, Solicitor General, Chief Demkiw, Deputy Solicitor General Mary DiTomassimo, Deputy Chief Johnson, and honored guests. It is my tremendous honor to be here today on behalf of the Toronto Police Service Board and Chair Anne Morgan for this exciting announcement, a significant investment in community safety that is extremely welcome news for Toronto. I am also joined by my colleague on the board, Councillor Lily Chang. This new air support will be an invaluable new tool both for our city and for the Toronto Police Service. As you know, the role of the board is to ensure that adequate and effective policing is provided within the City of Toronto. At our monthly board meeting earlier this week, Chief Demkiw updated us on a number of significant challenges that the service is currently facing, including an unprecedented volume of demonstrations and protests and the increase in gun violence. We know that Torontonians are worried about increasing levels of crime such as homicides and auto theft. We know that organized crime continues to drive high impact and violent offenses in our neighborhoods. And we know that, unfortunately, many of those committing offenses are getting more brazen. Indeed, just this week, we have had 3 examples where suspects in stolen vehicles attempted to ram, or did in fact ram, police vehicles while trying to evade arrest at high speeds. This new air support program will give the service the opportunity to apprehend violent suspects in these situations in a safer, swifter way with persistent aerial observation, allowing tactical officers on the ground to safely deploy resources. There is no doubt that this new helicopter will expand our enforcement capabilities and our ability to provide for safer communities. Helicopters can follow suspects persistently over great distance, while the officer on board can direct ground units safely to arrest and interrupt violent criminals with a minimal risk to the public. Helicopters can replace the need for dangerous vehicle pursuits, always a risk in a busy urban center. And helicopters can help us to search for missing and vulnerable members of our communities and bring them back home. And our service will have this increased capacity to keep our community safe at no cost to the City of Toronto or the service's budget. Once again, I would like to echo also Chief Demkiw's deep and sincere gratitude to Premier Ford, the Solicitor General, and the Government of Ontario for this truly game-changing investment in the safety of our neighbourhoods. Thank you. I will now turn it over to Natalie.
Thank you, Lisa. So we're going to conclude our Toronto Police Service live stream, but we are not finished yet. As you can see, we have brought our remote piloted aircraft system unit here, and we're going to do a little bit of show and tell if you want to learn more about how we are integrating our drones with air support. Superintendent Craig Young is here and available for one-on-ones if you want to know more about the role of the onboard tactical flight officers who will be Toronto Police Service members and the capabilities of this helicopter. And we also thought, why not bring a community command post for a little bit of show and tell if you want to see what's inside and speak to the officers who keep our communities safe every day. But right now, we are going to ask the speakers to stay behind for a quick photo, and for the safety, the aircraft, the helicopter needs to get back to serving the GTA policing partners. So we're going to ask everyone to slowly make your way past the yellow pylons, and we will be moving these Toronto Police assets over there for you as well so that you can have a look. And thank you all very much for coming today. So if everyone here wouldn't mind being in a photo for us. Oh, I apologize. I skipped a step. We'd be happy to take your questions. Oh no, now I'm in trouble.
That's it, that's all. Good.
So I think the first question that we were just kind of discussing was what specifically is new about what we're talking about today? The helicopters were announced previously. From what we understand, we're still waiting for the one that the OPP is going to have dedicated for Toronto. So we're just trying to sort out what's new about today.
Well, what's new about today is reaffirming the government's message of public safety. What's new about today is showcasing the H-135 right behind us. This type of helicopter will be the helicopter that will be used in Toronto, this type of helicopter. What's new today is reinforcing a message that as I knock on doors right here in my own constituency, our government is listening and our government is acting. And to stand right here on the old lands of CFB Downsview sends a positive message that the concerns of the residents of York Centre and of Toronto matter. This is one of the helicopters that's presently being used by the OPP as part of their fleet, and as the chief said, will be seconded as time permits while we're awaiting the arrival of the dedicated helicopter. And we're excited to see air support help fight crime and fight it hard in Toronto. Well, again, this is something that's in progress. We're going to have it here as soon as possible. The Premier and I and members of our team were at Airbus very recently in Fort Erie, and you know, so we asked them that question: as soon as the order is placed, how soon can we get the helicopter? It's going to be as soon as we can, as soon as possible.
Chief Demkiw.
Minister, I'll add a few details if I may. Thank you. Listen, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about you know, what is new today is greater clarity and specificity on the support that the Toronto Police Service is specifically receiving to deal with the unique dynamics that this city faces in the province of Ontario. And you asked the question about has air support already been provided? Yes. On October 7th, we had a helicopter exactly like that helicopter, if not the exact same one, overhead. While we managed multiple events across the city attended by thousands of people, I can tell you that we have already had discussions with the Ontario Provincial Police about the ongoing support Toronto will have as we move forward to through the procurement process that the OPP is managing for a new helicopter that will arrive, we expect, anywhere from 12 to 18 months from now. But in the meantime, we have a commitment from our colleagues at the Ontario Provincial Police to assist us in some of the investigations and needs we have operationally with air support in a timely way.
Matt with 640 Toronto. Can you just elaborate on sort of how things are going to work until you get a Toronto Police specific helicopter? I understand there is some airtime being allocated for
That's right.
the police. So has that started already on a continuous basis? And what is the expectation? How often Toronto Police will have access to a helicopter?
Well, listen, our deployment of helicopters will be informed by our operational needs, and it will be intelligence-led, and we'll certainly be focusing what we know is a very robust asset in the most appropriate way when needed. The Ontario Provincial Police is securing funding for additional airtime to help pay for that while we go and wait for the new helicopter to arrive. The specifics will be determined as operational needs arise and the capacity operationally for the province and the OPP to support us. But we have that commitment for that kind of support. So you will see an OPP helicopter over the city of Toronto from time to time as operational needs permit from the OPP and as operational needs exist for us to have air support.
Reminder, it is one question and one follow-up for today.
And I know it was mentioned there would be 5 Toronto Police officers dedicated to this unit, paid for by the Ontario government. So, I mean, how often would that unit, you know, when we're fully up and running, how often would that unit be staffed, and how often would a helicopter be up in the air? I know you said it's on a need-to-know basis, but you never know when a carjack is going to happen. Would we see a helicopter just patrolling as a police cruiser would be doing on the ground?
That's a really great question. I appreciate the opportunity to expand on some of the concepts around air support and policing. So first of all, When there is a dedicated asset, we will have that asset available, given some of the rules that exist in aviation. Of course, helicopters need certain levels of maintenance, certain upkeep. Pilots need to be rotated. There's all kinds of operational things to consider, and of course that gets factored in. But I can tell you what we do expect is our specific operational needs when we have the information and things going on that require it in real time to be deployed. We'll be able to pick up the phone, make that call, and have a chopper in the air. Additionally, I think it's important to say that there will be times when a helicopter will be in the air in support of the general operations of the city. But that, is, you see it now, York Region, Durham Region have had helicopters in the GTA. And in fact, this very morning, as I arrived to be briefed today, a York Regional helicopter was over the city of Toronto in response to a serious investigation they were conducting that occurred in York and transitioned to Toronto. At the very same time, one of our officers, their technology in their car alerted them to a stolen vehicle. They were able to communicate with the York helicopter, and that York helicopter assisted us in tracking that stolen vehicle, and we were able to apprehend people in that vehicle, recover that vehicle safely, and that vehicle is tied to a home invasion that had occurred earlier today in Scarborough. And that's a very active investigation that involved, just as I was arrived, I was provided a high-level update on that, but it really shows the utility of a helicopter in the air, responding to real-time issues arising in our streets. And that's the kind of support we're going to have. In the interim, we will have it as a result of additional hours, and after there's a dedicated resource, we expect that to be obviously a greater level of support.
Hi, Chief. Mike Walker, CTV News. Can you comment on, I know this has been something called for decades. Can you comment on how often Toronto Police rely on other forces like the OPP or YRP and DRPS for use of their air support?
Well, I don't have a statistic, but I'll tell you operationally, when air support is up in the GTA, our operations center is certainly connected with everybody. We're very seamless. And I'll tell you, there's one amazing thing in Ontario that we have in the policing sector, is that's interoperability. We have the greatest level of integration in the policing sector that I've ever seen presently, and the interoperability happens seamlessly all the time on a regular basis. But so I can tell you, when air support is up, we are aware, and there are occasions where we call upon it. When they can, they come help. But of course, they're committed to their jurisdiction as well. But that's an ongoing day-to-day issue.
And just for clarity, moving forward with this interim support until we get the dedicated helicopter, when it comes to deployment, who will be making that call? Is it an OPP or Toronto Police? Can you just talk about deployment a little bit more and how that will roll out?
Yeah, again, I really appreciate an opportunity to unpack that a little bit. This is a cooperative, collaborative relationship that we have now and will continue to evolve, specific to the asset when it's in place, is come up with a model and a framework on how to deploy it collaboratively. And then tactically, day to day, that's a discussion that would happen between operational leaders that exists 24 hours a day, both within the OPP Aviation Unit and our Operations Center, and they'll make those calls based on the framework that's developed.
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Hold on.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much,
thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
And then back to what I was saying before, we are going to deploy these assets a little bit over there, but for this helicopter to safely get back to serving our communities, we need 300 feet of clearance for it to safely take off. And if I can ask you to kindly do that, that would be great. And we're going to take a quick group photo if you want to stay for that. Yes, I'll take whatever you need. Yeah. So let's.
I have to go home and practice your name.